Carvana's so easy. Just a click and we've got ourselves a car. See?
So many cars. That's a click-tastic inventory.
And check out the financing options. Payments to fit our budget. I mean, that's...
Clickonomics 101.
Delivery to our door.
Just a hop, skip, and a click away.
And bought.
No better feeling than when everything just clicks. Buy your car today on Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
And away we go, episode 1290 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, March 27th, 2026, the day after the Washington Commanders announced that, quote, new uniforms, end quote, are coming. The team on Thursday afternoon on X put out a video announcing that the team on April 15th will be announcing, quote, new uniforms, end quote. And I'm being specific with the phrasing that the team used, quote, new uniforms, end quote, because that could mean several things, but I am assuming that this means the announcement of a new primary uniform, which I'm expecting to be the Super Bowl era alternate uniform of this past season, or something very close to the Super Bowl era alternate uniform of this past season. The Super Bowl era alternate uniform of this past season was great. Very reminiscent, of course, of the primary uniform for the Redskins during their glory days of the 1982 through 1992 seasons. The anticipation for a while has been that the Super Bowl era alternate uniform of this past season will become the team's primary uniform. Is that, in fact, what we are getting? April 15th, quote, new uniforms, end quote. By the way, the NFL's annual league meeting is coming up. It's taking place from this Sunday, March 29th through Wednesday, April 1st. It's happening in Arizona. I have been told that the expectation is that Commanders managing partner Josh Harris at the annual league meeting at some point will be doing a formal session with reporters. What might he have to say about the, quote, new uniforms, end quote. And, of course, there are a bunch of other topics on which it would be good to hear what he has to say. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, a very good guest, Tampa Bay Buccaneers analyst, Pittsburgh Steelers analyst, and NFL draft analyst Jon Ledyard of Audibles and Analytics on Substack. John's going to give us terrific insight on running back Rachaad White, who the Commanders on March 13th announced as having signed as an unrestricted free agent, off him having spent his first 4 NFL seasons with the Bucs. And Jon is going to explain why the Commanders should not take Notre Dame running back Jeremiyah Love with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Jon does a really good job of analyzing the NFL, both in terms of analytics and X's and O's. Jon Ledyard, next segment on Rachaad White and Jeremiyah Love. By the way, the Commanders on Thursday evening announced the signing of a player, announced the signing of veteran unrestricted free agent cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon to a 1-year contract. Some needed depth at corner. He's entering his age 31 season, was taken by the San Francisco 49ers in the 3rd round of the 2017 NFL draft out of the University of Colorado. Played for the Niners for the 2017 through 2020 seasons. The Commanders general manager Adam Peters was an executive for the Niners throughout that time. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Capitals, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. All 3 teams won on Thursday. We have a lot of victories to discuss. The Caps, a 7-4 win at the Utah Mammoth on Thursday night as winger Alex Ovechkin had a hat trick, the 34th regular season hat trick of his NHL career. The Nats, a 10-4 opening day win at the Chicago Cubs. The The O's, a 2-1 opening day win over the Minnesota Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Billy D in Florida on the Commanders potentially trading down from their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, writes Billy D. Al, I continue to enjoy the pod. Keep up the great work. I am 100% in agreement with you with respect to the Commanders trading down from pick number 7 in the draft. Running the numbers, if the Commanders trade down with a team with a pick between 15 and 20 in the first round, say Tampa Bay, the New York Jets, or Minnesota, Washington should be able to get that team's first-round pick, a 2026 second-round pick, less than pick 40 in the draft, and a 2027 fourth-round pick. Given the state of the roster, having 2 picks in the top 40 is more important than 1 pick in the top 10. An additional 2027 pick would be nice also. While the team is at it, Washington also should trade Daron Payne during or before the draft. He is still in his prime, and the Commanders are not going to extend him in 2027, so why not get a draft pick for him? I would think that they should be able to get a 4th-round pick for him. Doing these 2 things would more than likely give Washington 4 picks in the top 110 picks as opposed to the 2 that the team currently has. Those 4 picks could be turned into a cornerback, a safety, a receiver, and a running back, all positions of need. What do you think? Thank you for the email, Billy D. Well, my dream scenario for the Commanders with that number 7 overall pick is them trading down. I like a lot of guys in this draft, but I am not so wedded to any one guy in the draft to where I would be in favor of sticking and picking at 7 over trading down to add to our team's diminished inventory of draft picks. The team needs more draft capital. The Commanders' picks in the 2026 NFL Draft are as follows. A first-round pick, the number 7 overall pick, a third-round pick, the number 71 overall pick, a 5th-round pick, the number 147 overall pick, a 6th-round pick, the number 187 overall pick, another 6th-round pick, the number 209 overall pick, and a 7th-round pick, the number 223 overall pick. So the Commanders have just 2 picks over the first 4 rounds and just 3 picks over the first 186 picks. Our team needs more draft capital. Regarding trading interior defensive lineman Daron Payne, I have always been open to that. He is not worth the money that he's being paid, and I in no way want our team giving this guy another big money contract upon the conclusion of his current contract, which has 1 season left. But if the Commanders believe that Payne is a good fit for their new defense with Durante Jones as defensive coordinator and believe that Payne in this upcoming contract season is going to ball out as he did in his last contract season, the 2022 season, then keeping him makes sense on 2 fronts. A, the Commanders will get a very good 2026 season out of Payne. B, the Commanders potentially could get a 3rd-round compensatory draft pick if Payne signs a big money contract with another team as an unrestricted free agent in the 2027 offseason. So would you rather trade Payne now for a 4th-round pick or keep him for 1 more season, get a very good season out of him, and then get a 3rd-round comp pick? Obviously, that second scenario is better, but obviously there's no guarantee that he has a very good 2026 season or that the Commanders get a 3rd-round comp pick for him. Daron Payne, or as former Redskins quarterback Robert Griffin III said during his time as an ESPN NFL analyst, Daron Payne.
Daron Payne.
That's right, Robert. Daron Payne. If you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review doesn't have to be long, can be just a sentence or 2, but the reviews do help us out a lot. Thank you very much for doing them.
Today's show is sponsored by Strawberry.me. Let me ask you something. Do you think championship athletes got to the top by guessing? No, they had coaching. Every elite athlete has a coach watching their form, calling the plays, and spotting the blind spots they can't see themselves. That's how championships are won. So why are you trying to win in your career without a coach? You're grinding, hoping for the promotion, trying to read the politics, guessing your next move. That's amateur hour. If you want to perform like a pro, you need coaching. Strawberry.me matches you with a professional career coach who who breaks down your game film. They help you negotiate the raise, navigate workplace politics, and execute a strategy that actually works. Stop riding the bench in your own life. Go to strawberry.me/podcast50 to get 50% off your first coaching session. Strawberry.me, because pros don't guess, they get coached to win.
Carvana's so easy, just a click, and we've got ourselves a car. See?
So many cars. That's a click-tastic inventory.
And check out the financing options. Payments to fit our budget. I mean, that's
Clickonomics 101.
delivery to our door.
Just a hop, skip, and a click away.
And what?
No better feeling than when everything just clicks. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
The Washington Commanders entered the NFL's 2026-2027 league year when it started on March 11th with just one running back under contract, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. The team now has 4 running backs under contract. The Commanders on March 13th announced having signed Tampa Bay Buccaneers unrestricted free agent running back Rachaad White. The Commanders on March 19th announced having signed Cleveland Browns unrestricted free agent running back Jerome Ford. And the Commanders on March 19th announced having re-signed unrestricted free agent running back Jeremy McNichols. So the Commanders at running back have done enough to be viable, but have not done enough to preclude them from taking Notre Dame running back Jeremiyah Love with the number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Specific to Rachaad White, he right now would appear to be the Commanders' top running back for passing downs. He has excelled on passing downs, is ranked in the top 15 among all qualified NFL pass catchers per Pro Football Reference in yards after catch, yak per reception in each of the last 3 regular seasons. He, per Sport Radar, had 0 drops in the 2024 regular season and had 0 drops in the 2025 regular season. He has the reputation for being very good in pass protection. Now, the contract for OverTheCap.com and SpotTrack.com is just a 1-year, $2 million deal with $1.715 million fully guaranteed at signing. The 2026 season will be his age 27 season. The Bucs took White in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft out of Arizona State, for which White played for the 2020 and 2021 seasons. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels played for Arizona State for the 2019 through 2021 seasons. For much more on Rachaad White and for perspective on the Commanders potentially drafting Jeremiyah Love, I'm very pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Tampa Bay Buccaneers analyst, Pittsburgh Steelers analyst, and NFL draft analyst Jon Ledyard of Audibles and Analytics on Substack. You can read his work at jonledyard.substack.com. Ledyard is spelled Ledyard. His Substack is really good. You can follow Jon on X at Ledyard NFL Draft. Hey, Jon, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Rachaad White, what would you say that the Commanders are getting in him?
Yeah, getting a team first guy, I would say, for sure. This is a guy that, I think was never tried to steal limelight. I know after he left the Bucs, he was like, man, I wish I would have gotten more opportunities and stuff. But there was none of that stuff when he was there. None of that stuff that you could see. Like, he's very prepared. He's a very highly intelligent player, highly prepared player. Pass protection is his strength and his strong suit. And so being able to decipher where people are coming from, understanding the picture pre-snap, understanding what he's supposed to be doing post-snap, understanding where the threats are coming from, finding them and eliminating them. Not the biggest or strongest, definitely not the fastest, but he just plays football the right way. Really smart, really tough. Will be a lead blocker in concepts. They did a lot of pony stuff with two backs in the backfield in Tampa Bay, especially under Liam Cohen. You people can watch those clips, that offense from 2024, and get a good sense for kind of like his versatility and usage. But he was a really competent part of that. He has great hands in the pass game, very reliable player overall, just a trustworthy, reliable, solid player. I think the good hands. He's better after the catch than you think, considering he's not a great athlete. Better after the catch than you think, just kind of shifty, kind of understands movement. The guy coming from this way, I need to stop here, move here. Guys kind of bounce off of him. But he's just, where his limitations show up is just not being a very violent player, not being a very like physically imposing, super explosive, crazy athletic. Like there's some limitations that show up in that way in his games where you can just see like the ceiling is pretty low, even if the floor is high.
Rachaad White having done well in yak. You just hit on this a little bit, but why has he excelled in terms of yak?
Yeah, I think a big thing is just that the scheme of the offense that he was in, especially when you look at under Liam Cohen, I think, which is where a lot of his numbers are like probably most impressive. I think he averaged 9.9 yards after the catch per reception. I mean, one of the best screen offenses in the league just from a scheme perspective. So you just got a lot of production from anybody who was back there in terms of the screen game, just because stuff was drawn up really well. They have like the ideal offensive line for screen, right? Just guys who are obviously able to get out in space, from Tristan Wirfs to Graham Barton to Luke Gedicke. Like it was a great group for what they wanted to do. But then he's just a really good decision maker, Rachaad White. He just picks and chooses moments, the timing, waits for blocks, very patient player. There were some Le'Veon Bell comps for him coming out. He just doesn't have anywhere near the like second reaction burst that Bell has, or the lateral quickness, the juke, some of that stuff. But really tough player, but makes really good decisions in short yardage. I think he had one of the highest EPAs per touch in the league. So just, again, that kind of speaks to the same stuff you see after the catch. Like, he's going to make the right decision with the football. He's going to find the right crease, the right space, make the cut at the right time. And nothing he does is going to wow you in terms of like the actual movement or like, oh, it's a highlight, like all that kind of stuff. But he's just a kind of a really consistent, well-rounded, smart player and makes a lot of good decisions with the ball in his hands. And that's where I think you got those big yak numbers that you saw. And last year, everything was down as the screen game was down. He's not a guy that's just going to create a ton of production for himself. He can break some tackles. He can definitely run through some arm tackles. Like, he's got good balance, I would say, overall. But it would help him if he could ever move at a more explosive pace. But he just really is a one-speed guy in everything he does.
Rachaad White is very good in pass protection. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Bucs offense, really emphasized that. Like, he is clearly, I think, a less explosive, less dynamic overall player than Bucky Irving, but they really split time for a lot of the time that Bucky Irving's in there, just because he's just more reliable. He's a better pass protector. He just was on the field. Any situation, you can put him out there, and even though Bucky's probably a more explosive player with the ball in his hands, Rachaad White would make plays as a receiver. He makes plays as a rusher. He makes plays in pass protection. So it always leaves you wanting kind of a little, because you were like, wow, maybe she was more explosive and everything. But like, you get to the end of the day, it's hard to blame him for anything that goes wrong, just because he's always kind of sharp and on the details and stuff like that. And I believe last year, even like the fumbling stuff was down for him. So yeah, the pass protection is the calling card of his game, and then everything else is just kind of solid enough. But the fact that he can consistently find and eliminate threats in pass protection is really, really a strength. And I think people maybe will look at the PFF grades for pass protection. I would say, there's some things I really like PFF does. I would say their pass protection stuff is probably the worst stuff that they do in terms of like the grading. Like, it just doesn't communicate what happens in the games very well with this position. And so I think you really have to go, it's only a handful of snaps that backs are pass protecting. It's less than 10 snaps basically every game. So you really have to go and watch the reps. And I think when you do, you'll find, yeah, this is a guy that put himself in position to protect his quarterback way more often than not.
You mentioned Pro Football Focus grading. Rachaad White's PFF rushing grade for the 2025 regular season was great, 87.2. How do you evaluate him as a ball carrier?
Yeah, that PFF rushing grade just cracked me up all season. I just couldn't believe it. Like, he's this is still at the top of the league every single week. I'm like, where are the plays that like people, and I really like Rachaad White. I've probably been one of his biggest proponents just because from a guy who like understands the tape perspective, like I just appreciate guys who get the job done consistently without mistakes. And so I really like that. The coaching standpoint, coaches really like him. He's not a lot of what GMs look for when it comes to traits and stuff like that. So I can't really explain the grade. I will say it's really good. He cut down no fumbles this year. That was an issue with him in 2024 a little bit. Just I don't think it was actually anything he did. So I actually predicted, I was like, I think this is going to regress back to the mean. He's going to be fine in this area. And then he didn't fumble in 2025. So he made me look good in that regard. I think he just was a victim of some punch outs and stuff. So I guess maybe that helps the overall grade, I would guess. But I mean, obviously, 572 yards rushing, the yards per touch averages are kind of ordinary, I would say. I think he's not going to be a guy that, again, runs people over and it's just like so overwhelming. But I will say, I think the reason why he gets the good grade is just every decision's the right decision. Like he just really is like a guy who makes really good decisions and he finds the crease and he runs exactly where he's supposed to run. And he's kind of like the old, I forget who it was said about, but it's an old quote about some back in the day. And they were like, he was really reliable. It was Walt Garrison, I think. It was an old running back in the day. And it was like, if you needed 4 yards, you give the ball to Walt Garrison, he'd give you 4 yards. If you needed 20 yards, you give the ball to Walt Garrison, and he'd get you 4 yards. And that's like Rachaad White, kind of like he's not going to be like your big explosive back, but like daggum, like every time you need the 4 yards, he's going to give it to you. And so like that's kind of who he is as a player, which makes him effective in short yardage, which is another reason probably why the grade is up. I bet is that the EPA per rush was probably good, or the success rate per rush was probably good because a lot of these short yard situations, he just like always falls forward, kind of gets what's there, but he doesn't really. You would think of big, powerful, explosive backs being good in short yardage, and usually that's probably true, especially the explosive part matters a lot. And when he does get caught, it's just because he isn't fast enough to the line of scrimmage and somebody came screaming in. But if you block it even halfway decent for him, he will find the little crease that's there and he will get the short yardage gain.
Much more with Jon Ledyard in moments, but if you enjoyed this podcast, check out BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. BGO Blind Pig is great. It is a roundtable discussion of the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of your buddies who are Commanders fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. The latest episode features discussion of the state of the team, of all that it has done in free agency so far this offseason. Enhance your Commanders content and check out the BGO Blind Pig podcast. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any major podcast provider. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Commanders podcast rotation. We're talking with Tampa Bay Buccaneers analyst, Pittsburgh Steelers analyst, and NFL draft analyst Jon Ledyard of Audibles and Analytics on Substack. The contract that Rachaad White got from the Commanders, a mere 1 year, $2 million deal. Any surprise that he got such an underwhelming contract?
I think he just played himself out of his markets because he was so adamant about Jaden Daniels. I think that's part of the problem, is that like he lost all his leverage just because from that, like literally like the final gun of the season had sounded and he was like, might be teaming up with Jaden Daniels. It was like, dude, like his agent was probably upset. I was a little bit surprised by that. Yeah, I mean, certainly his production's better. He's had a 1,000 yard rushing season. Like no one's going to say that. I think, we have your druthers. He's a feature back for a team, but he can start for you. And number two backs, we're getting way more than, I mean, 5, 6, 7 million per year on the low end even. So he is for sure a number two back. I mean, he is absolutely going to be in your top two because there's really no purpose of having him with his skills as a pass protector if he's not going to be playing. So it's a really good discounted rate for Washington. I wondered if he would go for less than kind of what was being reputed, which was kind of like the 7-8 million per year range, just because I don't think like Kenneth Gainwell, compare him to, for example, Rico Dowdle, like those guys just have more splash playability probably than he does. And teams will pay for that at running back, I think, but he's a better pass protector than both of those guys. And that part of the game really matters. So maybe he'll just be sort of in this mold of Samaje Perine, kind of classically undervalued by everybody throughout his career, but every team that he's on really appreciates who he is. And he's never going to do well on the market, but everything else about his game like really adds value to the team.
And Samaje Perine started his NFL career with the Redskins. So they took him in the fourth round of the 2017 NFL draft out of the University of Oklahoma. He played for the Skins for 2 seasons. I would ask you why the Bucs didn't re-sign Rachaad White, but maybe his situation was him more wanting to leave for the Commanders.
He sort of closed the door right after the season when, again, he never said a single negative thing. He busts his tail every game, and maybe he thought stuff, or maybe he really just didn't care. He's kind of a funny guy on social media. So, I mean, really not many players criticize the Bucs. The Bucs organization, pretty good. Players really enjoy him. And I don't even know if he criticized. He just kind of joked around that, like, he was done in Tampa Bay and, like, it was time to go somewhere where he'd get more touches. I don't know if that's going to happen in Washington, frankly. Maybe he overestimates who he is a little bit, and that was part of it. But it seemed like he definitely didn't seem like that interested in coming back to be a part of a backfield where it was really a 3-headed monster by the end. Sean Tucker was kind of getting in there too. And again, like balancing out all the skill sets is difficult. I think he's probably going to find that no matter where he goes, that's just going to be his role, is trying to balance. And actually, I think the Bucs gave him a pretty good amount of leeway considering the fact that it really isn't a very explosive player. And Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving are just way more dynamic players with the ball. His reliability actually meant something to them because I think they understand like quality offense, but I think there are other places where like he would just not be seen maybe as that reliable. Now, obviously he's going, and that's might be why like he pegged Washington, I'm sure with Jaden Daniels and their friendship, like he's gonna find another place that values who he is as a player. So I appreciate that part about it, but yeah, I would guess that was part of it. The other thing I think when the Bucs signed Kenneth Gainwell, he was kind of their choice. There's this roulette of kind of backup running backs all going different places. And I think Gainwell's just a way more explosive player. He's not the pass protector White is. He was in an offense last year where the PFF grades look great for, the pass protection stuff, but it's kind of a fake offense, what Pittsburgh ran last year. They don't really ask him to do that much in pass protection a lot of time. And so he's a better, more dynamic player with the ball in his hands, probably better receiver in that regard, better creator with the ball. You can use him more ways in the pass game. I think the Bucs kind of felt like they wanted to move in that direction, add that element.
I do want to ask you about Jeremiyah Love, as you do a lot on the NFL draft. Where do you stand on the Commanders potentially spending a number 7 overall pick on a running back?
The positional value of drafting a running back this high is just not that great. Now, if you do it, he better be an unbelievable receiver, like Christian McCaffrey was drafted high, right? And he's one of the few guys that's probably, you could make the argument's been worth it statistically. He's also like generationally impactful and amazing in the pass game. I mean, San Francisco designs a passing attack around Christian McCaffrey's ability as a receiver. That's how dynamic this guy is and how much he can do for it. That's just really rare to find because it's not just like, oh, he's athletic and he can catch. There's so many more elements to it with McCaffrey, like the way that he can play that justifies the value of taking a running back that high. I mean, Barkley's splash playability, but even he has been like hurt a lot throughout his career. He's disappointed at times when he was with the Giants. He's, it's been not this smooth ride of just like excellence for him. So I just think it's a position I just wouldn't even be thinking about. I mean, the Raiders obviously their pick of Ashton Genty was, even though people liked Ashton Genty, and I get it, like he's a good player and Jeremiyah Love's a better player than Ashton Genty in my opinion, but that was just such a foolish pick from the outset, and people didn't want to criticize it because everybody likes Genty, but we're talking about team building here. Like this stuff really matters. Like Washington needs to find like that dynamic piece, and like the reality is like the best last year's running back class was so heralded, and all these guys, and we're gonna take Genty high, and Omarion Hampton's great, and all these guys are great. I mean, you look, who was the best rookie running back last year? Was it Cal Monangai? Like, I mean, was it those kind of guys? Like, nobody even knows where he was drafted. So there's just so many opportunity to add value that I think it would just be a really foolish move. There's just way more places that you can add value. You could trade down a lot of time. Like, I just think you're just so unlikely to get the type of impact you need from that position. And usually, and it's also then you have to find that impact above replacement. And that is also just proven year after year that it's just not above replacement for a back is just it's easier to find guys that can do that stuff than other positions.
Great point about the running back class for the 2025 NFL Draft. So much hype for that class, but this past season did not live up to the hype. Tampa Bay Buccaneers analyst, Pittsburgh Steelers analyst, and NFL Draft analyst Jon Ledyard of Audibles and Analytics on Substack. Jon, thanks. All the best.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Hey, if you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact The NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com, and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The NACE Law Group, it features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients. Led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979, the NACE Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The NACE Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The NACE Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. We always hope that all is well with you, but if you have an issue, if you have concerns, contact the NACE Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Hey, if you would like to grow your business or practice, consider advertising on this podcast. We'd love to have you on board. Podcast advertising works and is very affordable. In fact, we right now have special deals as we approach the 2026 NFL Draft. Put the power of the pod to work for you. Email us to see what we can do for you. The email address is thealgaldipodcast@yahoo.com. The Washington Capitals, them making the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs, continues to look unlikely, but the Caps are not done yet.
A hat trick for Alex here tonight. Absolutely incredible. The puck drops in center, and that's going to do it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Utah. A 7 spot on the board. The Capitals take down the Mammoth. 7 for the final.
John Walton on the Washington Capitals radio network. A 7-4 win at the Utah Mammoth on Thursday night. The Caps in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season improved to 36-28-9, good for 81 points. 6 points behind the New York Islanders for the Eastern Conference's second of 2 wildcard spots. 6 points behind the Columbus Blue Jackets for third place in the Metropolitan Division as the top 3 teams in each division make the postseason. But the Caps have just 9 games left in this regular season. The Caps are running out of time, but still, this was a good win on Thursday night as the Mammoth are first in the Western Conference's wildcard standings. The Caps won 7-4 despite getting ripped in the puck possession battle. The Caps had just 25 shots on goal to the Mammoth's 39, and Pranacho Statrick had just 37 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Mammoth's 59, including 8 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Mammoth's 11, and yet still, the Caps won 7-4. The Mammoth starting goaltender was former Caps goaltender Vitek Vanacek. He stopped just 17 of the 23 shots on goal that he faced and got pulled in the third period. And a big reason for that was the grade 8 Alex Ovechkin. He served as the Caps' top-line right wing, and he scored 3 goals, registered the 34th regular season hat trick of his NHL career, giving him 29 goals in this regular season and giving him an NHL record 926 career regular season goals. Ovi surpassed Brett Hull for the 4th most regular season hat tricks in NHL history. Also, Ovi became just the 3rd NHL player to have at least 2 hat tricks in his age 40 regular season or older. He scored 2 second-period even-strength goals and a third-period even-strength empty net goal. He had a team-high 11 total shot attempts, including a team-high 5 shots on goal, and he was number 2 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 55.17. The Caps with Ovechkin on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game had 16 shot attempts versus allowing 13 shot attempts. So even in a game in which the Caps got demolished in the puck possession battle, Ovi was above 50% in terms of his 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage. What a performance by Alex Ovechkin in, again, his age 40 season. This guy is unreal. Here was the 3rd goal of the game by Ovi.
Gunther on top to Sergachev. Big drive coming from Keller, and it's blocked. 10 seconds to go. Puck on the far wing. Up and out of the zone. Ovechkin toward the empty net. Yes! It's a hat trick for Alex Ovechkin here in Utah. His second hat trick of the year, his first in Montreal. And here he makes it 7-4 with 5.2 to go, and again some post-whistle hostilities.
Yeah, there was a lot of chippiness in this game, multiple fights, but the Caps did win. And Alex Ovechkin was not the only Caps player who had a multi-goal game.
Near side here for Kerfoot. The center and back to Sergachev. Through Duhaime. And up to Mackenzie Weegar. Neutral zone play here. It's stolen by Miroshnichenko. He'll drive the left side. Coming into the dot. He throws it in front. He scores! He and Lapierre hook up. And they have a half dozen on the board here in Utah. That's the second time tonight Ivan Miroshnichenko has put it in the back of the net. And the second time he had help from Hendrix Lapierre. How about that? 6-4 Washington.
Yeah, it was good to see Caps' fourth-line right wing Ivan Miroshnichenko do as he did on Thursday night. He scored 2 even-strength goals for his first 2 goals over 6 games in this regular season. The Caps on March 6th announced having recalled Miroshnichenko from their AHL affiliate, the Hershey Bears. He, at the NHL level this regular season, has been mostly a healthy scratch, but he on Thursday night scored 2 goals, so the Caps went 1 for 3 on the power play. Their starting goaltender was their number 1 goaltender, Logan Thompson. He stopped just 35 of the 39 shots on goal that he faced, but that's okay when your team scores 7 goals. So the Caps went just to 2 for 4 on the penalty kill. Their healthy scratches for this win at the Mammoth on Thursday night were 3 defensemen, Timothy Liljegren, Declan Chisholm, and Dylan McIlrath. A 5th consecutive game that Liljegren was a healthy scratch, despite the Caps having traded for him on March 6th, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day. And speaking of that, the other guy who the Caps acquired on that day, forward David Kampf, he still has not played at all for the Caps. So he now has not played in any of the team's 10 games since it acquired him. He has not been playing off dealing with a visa issue and the birth of a child. This David Kampf situation is one of the strangest situations I've ever seen. I hope he's okay. I am starting to wonder if there's something really wrong here and we're just not aware. But man, this is really odd. Anyway, this was Caps head coach Spencer Carberry during his post-game session with reporters early Friday morning. And then we'll fast forward to the final exchange of the session.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that game, and for our group to be down in that game, and you could feel, coming in down 3-1, not an ideal scenario, but felt pretty good about the way the demeanor inside our locker room was, on our bench. So I knew and was fairly confident that we weren't going to lay down in that hockey game. And then a couple things happened through the game. O gets going in the second period, scores a couple big goals for us. We grab a little momentum and we build off that. We don't just settle on the one goal. We sort of compounded it in a couple other shifts for other lines and deep pairs. So, yeah, and then sticking up for one another, and guys just doing everything they could to find a way to win a hockey game and battle for one another was what was impressive to me.
What does the offensive outburst and just the camaraderie you guys saw tonight do for you guys down this home stretch here?
Yeah, we're just going to try to take it game by game. I know it's a cliche, but we're in it's going to be a difficult road, but we're just focused on one game. So if we could get 2 points tonight, we did. We're staying in this fight, and that's what we're going to focus on going into Vegas.
All right, and the Caps this weekend have one game at the Vegas Golden Knights, Saturday night at 10:30. The Washington Nationals this past January 14th announced the launch of Nationals.tv, marking the end of the Nats' 21-season run on MASN. Nationals.tv is a streaming service, but is available via some cable and satellite providers. However, on Thursday, opening day, had all kinds of problems for people with Verizon Fios as a cable provider. Nationals.TV was supposed to be on Verizon Fios channel 579, but was not on Verizon Fios at all for people. All kinds of outrage over this, and justifiably so. Not sure who's at fault, but this was not good at all. And while many of those who got done dirty by Nationals.TV not being on Verizon Fios were expressing their outrage on X, the Nats were pulling off quite the win, a 10-4 win at the Chicago Cubs on Thursday in Game 1 of a 3-game series to begin each team's 2026 regular season. The Nats scored their most runs in an opening day game since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. Yes, the Nats are in the midst of a never-ending rebuild, but this was a nice win, and perhaps due in large part to the Nats' new process. So the expectation is that the Nats, in being in on analytics and sports science like never before, are going to be going with a wide variety of lineups this regular season. Sure enough, the Nats on Thursday had multiple notable items with the lineup. Andres Chaparro, who is not expected to be an everyday player, he was the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter. Joey Wiemer, he was the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter. He batted ahead of C.J. Abrams, who was the Nats starting shortstop and number 6 batter. But the result of this lineup was some surprisingly productive offense. The Nats scored 10 runs. The Nats totaled 11 hits, which were 3 home runs, a double, and 7 singles. The Nats worked 2 walks and a hit by pitch. The Nats went 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The Nats got to the Cubs' opening day starter, lefty Matthew Boyd. He allowed 6 runs in 3 2/3 innings, despite having 7 strikeouts versus 1 walk. But Boyd's a good pitcher. He, in the 2025 regular season, over 31 starts, had an ERA of 3.21, and yet the Nats got to him on Thursday, and the Nats did what they did offensively, despite a rough game for their best hitter, James Wood. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter, went 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. But another Nats outfielder with the initials JW, Joey Wiemer, he had a very good game. Joey Wiemer, the Nats this past January 5th claimed Wiemer off waivers from the San Francisco Giants. He on Thursday as the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter went 3 for 3 with a solo homer, 2 singles and a walk. Also, he got credited with an outfield assist. Wiemer in the Nats 1-run second had a 1-out solo homer to left field for a 1-0 lead. Wiemer was credited with an outfield assist to end the Cubs' 2-run third as he on a Pete Crow Armstrong 2-out first pitch RBI single into right field threw home to catcher Keibert Ruiz, who then fired the ball to third baseman Brady House to tag Alex Bregman for the 3rd out. Wiemer in the top of the 5th had a 2-out first pitch single, got thrown out in an attempt to advance to second base, but that was a base-running blunder of aggression, and you can forgive something like that. Joey Wiemer making the Nats look good for having him in that number 5 spot. The Nats new process, led by President of Baseball Operations Paul Taboni, General Manager Anirudh Kalambi, and Manager Blake Butera, perhaps paying immediate dividends. So also, Jacob Young homered. He is the Nats starting center fielder and number 9 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer. Young in the Nats 6-run 4th had a 2-out opposite field 2-run homer to right field for a 7-2 Nats lead. Young entered this game with just 5 home runs over 1,006 career MLB regular season plate appearances. Amazing that the first 2 Nats outfielders to homer in this regular season, heck, the first 2 Nats players, period, to homer in this regular season were Joey Wiemer and Jacob Young. Also homering for the Nats on Thursday was Brady House. He is the Nats starting third baseman and number 3 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and a single. Did commit a throwing error, but House in the Nats 2-run 9th had a 2-out first pitch, 2-run opposite field homer to right field for a 10-4 Nats lead, and House in the bottom of the 1st made a diving catch on a 5-3 ground out by Alex Bregman for the 1st out. And also with a big hit was C.J. Abrams. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 6 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run single. Abrams in the Nats 6-run 4th had a bases-loaded first pitch, 2-run single to the right field corner, although he got thrown out in an attempt to get to second base as Abrams took his sweet time getting out of the batter's box due to admiring what he presumably thought was a home run. Blake Butera challenged the call of out at second base, but the call was upheld. But that play in a nutshell is C.J. Abrams. A good play, a 2-run single marred by a silly, careless screw-up by Abrams. At some point, this guy needs to decide whether he wants to be great, because he can be great. And the thing is, he's already good, but there's another level he can get to, and it would be such a shame if he never gets to that level. There's no excuse for him on opening day. This isn't, the middle of August of a lost season. This is opening day, not properly running out. Yes, a well-struck ball, but at Wrigley Field, where the wind was going crazy, you can't assume anything in terms of hitting a home run. Also key for the Nats in this 10-4 win at the Cubs on Thursday was the bullpen. The Nats bullpen on paper is far from imposing, and it on Thursday certainly was rocky at times. But bottom line, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 5 1/3 innings. P.J. Poulin faced 5 batters and got 3 outs. He came into the game in the bottom of the 4th with a runner on third, 2 outs, and the Nats up 7-3, and he got the Cubs' number 9 batter, Matt Shaw, to ground out on 8 pitches for the 3rd out. Brad Lord allowed 1 run in 2 1/3 innings. He came into the game in the bottom of the 5th with runners on first and second, 2 outs, and the Nats up 7-3, and he got the Cubs' number 5 batter, Nico Horner, to ground into a fielder's choice for the 3rd out. Also, Lord with runners on first and second, 1 out, and the Nats up 8-4 in the bottom of the 7th, induced a 4-3 full count double play off the bat of Nico Horner as second baseman Nasim Nunez made a nice play. The run that Lord allowed came on a bunt, a 1-out RBI bunt single by Pete Crow Armstrong in a Cubs 1-run 7th. We had the adventures of Clayton Beeter. He tossed a scoreless and hitless bottom of the 8th despite issuing 2 walks and a wild pitch, and despite being late to cover first base on a ground out. He threw 24 pitches, just 12 strikes versus 12 balls, but still, Beeter tossed a scoreless and hitless bottom of the 8th. And Cionel Perez, the former Baltimore Orioles reliever, he tossed a perfect bottom of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts, despite facing the Cubs' numbers 2 through 4 batters in Alex Bregman, Ian Happ, and Pete Crow Armstrong. Cionel Perez, he has not had a good season since 2022, but he on Thursday was great. A salute to the Nats bullpen. Nice job. The Nats starting pitcher for this 10-4 win at the Cubs on Thursday was Cade Cavalli. This is his age 27 season. The Nats took Cavalli out of the University of Oklahoma with the number 22 overall pick in the 2020 MLB draft. Cavalli in March 2023 underwent Tommy John surgery on his right elbow. He pitched briefly in the minors in the 2024 season. He struggled for AAA Rochester last season, but the Nats last August 6th announced having recalled Cavalli from AAA Rochester. He at the major league level in the 2025 regular season of having made just 1 career MLB regular season start. Had the following stats: 10 starts, ERA of 4.25, whip of 1.48. Not great numbers, but he stayed healthy. He had an excellent 2026 exhibition season, and he got the job of opening day starting pitcher for the Nats. Now, things on Thursday did not go especially well. Cavalli allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 3 2/3 innings. Disappointing outing, but he gave up just 3 hits, which were a double and 2 singles, and he recorded 5 strikeouts. That was good. He issued 3 walks. That was an issue. Issued a wild pitch, and he had a Cubs 2-run third, committed a throwing error on a pickoff attempt. He threw 75 pitches, 46 strikes, 29 balls. Not a blow-up start, but definitely a disappointing outing. The Nats this weekend have the final 2 games of this 3-game series at the Cubs. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 2:20. Miles Michaelis will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 2:20. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, a big question for the Baltimore Orioles in a 2026 regular season in which they have big expectations is the Trevor Rogers who we saw over 3.5 months of the 2025 regular season, who Trevor Rogers now is. Well, what he did on Thursday suggested, yes, a 2-1 win over the Minnesota Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Thursday, what was 2026 opening day, as this was game 1 of a 3-game series to begin each team's 2026 regular season. And the Orioles starting pitcher for the game, Trevor Rogers, again pitched like an ace. This is Rogers' age 28 season. The O's on July 30th, 2024 announced having traded outfielder Kyle Stowers and second baseman/outfielder Connor Norby to the Miami Marlins for Rogers. Rogers was so bad for the O's in the 2024 regular season that they on August 22nd, 2024, less than a month after acquiring him, announced having optioned him to AAA Norfolk. And then Rogers was on the 15-day injured list for March 27th, 2025, retroactive to March 24th, 2025 to May 11th, 2025. This due to a right knee subluxation that he suffered during a workout in January 2025. The O's on May 24th, 2025, announced that Rogers would serve as the 27th man for a doubleheader, and in that spot start did well. A 2-1 win at the Boston Red Sox on May 24th, 2025 in Game 2 of a doubleheader. In his 2025 Major League regular season debut, 6 1/3 scoreless innings, 5 strikeouts, no walks. The O's on June 18th, 2025, announced having recalled Rogers from AAA Norfolk, and he for the O's at the Major League level over the rest of the 2025 regular season was outstanding. Rogers at the Major League level last regular season, 18 games, all starts, ERA of 1.81, ERA plus of 2.23, WHIP of 0.903, wins above replacement per Baseball Reference of 5.4. He was so good that you had to wonder how real this was. Well, Rogers on Thursday was very good, while not being at his best. He tossed 7 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts. He gave up 3 hits, all of which were singles. He did issue 4 walks and a hit by pitch. He threw 88 pitches, 56 strikes versus 32 balls. But still, even with him not being at his best as seen by the 4 walks and a hit by pitch, the guy threw 7 shutout innings. During O's manager Craig Albernaz's postgame press conference on Thursday evening, had this exchange between Orioles insider Rich Dubroff of BaltimoreBaseball.com and Albernaz.
What did you think of Rogers' performance today?
Rogers, that's what an ace does. He goes out there and sets the tone. He got himself in some little bit of traffic, a little bit of hairy situations, but he got himself out of it with the ground ball, inducing those double plays. Kobe played a great third base for us today, and Raj had to. I mean, Joe Ryan was on today. You know, he was filling up in the strike zone with all of his pitches. The splitter was gross. Fastball had the life that he usually has to it, and he was keeping the righties honest with his curveball, breaking balls. So Raj had to step up, and he did.
Yes, he did, and the O's needed Trevor Rogers to be as good as he was because their offense was not good. This was an offensive performance that was way too reminiscent of the Orioles' bad offensive performances over the last 2 seasons. Just one game, of course, so we won't overreact, but the O's scored just 2 runs, a total just 5 hits, which were a double and 4 singles, so worked 3 walks and went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The O's struggled against Twin starting pitcher Joe Ryan. He tossed 5 1/3 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts. So the Orioles relief pitching in this 2-1 win over the Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Thursday. 2 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 2 innings. Tyler Wells allowed 1 run in 1 inning. Ryan Helsley tossed a scoreless top of the 9th with 3 swinging strikeouts for the save, despite giving up a 2-out single and then issuing a 2-out wild pitch. The O's this weekend have the final 2 games of this 3-game series against the Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Game 2, Saturday afternoon at 4:05. Kyle Bradish will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 3, Sunday afternoon at 1:35. Shane Baz will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1291. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Monday's show, I'll talk Washington Capitals, Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. The Caps this weekend have one game at the Vegas Golden Knights, Saturday night at 10:30. The Wizards this weekend have two games at the Golden State Warriors, Friday night at 10, and at the Portland Trail Blazers Sunday evening at 6. The Nats this weekend have the final two games of a 3-game series at the Chicago Cubs. The O's this weekend have the final two games of a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
Daron Payne.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.